So hypervectors is a concept that I've covered a lot on this channel and hyperdimensional computing very specifically. But I'm going to show you something very unique today and something that honestly before today I didn't even know that you could do, which is running HDC models directly in a browser. Like no server, no backend, nothing else, no special tools. Everything is just going to run purely in your web browser. And we can do some very cool things with this overall. I got this concept and I came across it from my LinkedIn feed, and then someone linked an article, like a Medium article about this, and this person described like all of this in detail. And then I was playing around with it, and I played around with their initial setup, which is this, right? This is what they created. And I got this code from their article, but then they paywalled the entire article. The whole thing is behind a paywall now, but I do have the code here for the hyperdimensional neural network playground, which is super cool, right? So you can give it single input predictions, you can upload images, you can upload CSV and to do batch predictions, and then so you can also export and import the model. So this is like super duper built out, right? But within this, let's go ahead and start with the basics here. And then so since they paywalled the article, I went ahead and kind of reconstructed, and I'm going to give you a tutorial here. All of this is free. I don't believe in the paywall stuff. So tutorial in browser AI with hyperdimensional computing and JavaScript. This guide will walk you through creating a functional machine learning model that runs entirely in a web browser. We'll use the principles of hyperdimensional computing, or HDC, to build a simple sentiment analyzer that can classify text as either positive or negative. That's what's going to look like here. And then so you can see here I have the soup was lukewarm and tasted like dried sandpaper mixed with a paint thinner, and then analyzed it, and it was negative. Let's say this is the best movie I have ever seen. And we get a positive sentiment. And so that's essentially what we're going to build out here with this tutorial, right? And then so first of all, starting off though, what is HDC and why would you want to use it in a browser like we're doing here? So HDC, or hyperdimensional computing, is a brain-inspired computational framework. Instead of relying on complex calculus like traditional neural networks, it uses simple arithmetic on very large vectors called hypervectors. Hypervectors, they're just long lists of numbers, 10,000 numbers long typically, and in this instance, they'll be 10,000 numbers long, 10,000 dimensions. And in our case, they'll be composed of ones and minus ones. Typically, you'll see them as composed as either ones and zeros or ones and minus ones. Their key property is that they can be combined to represent complex information. And then within this, how they do that, right? So you take these 10,000 dimensions, you have this 10,000 strings of numbers, and this 10,000 dimensions can represent anything. It can represent concepts, language, sentiment, whatever it is that you want to classify into a hypervector. And then so you create the hypervector, and then you go through a process of binding and bundling. So binding combines two hypervectors to create a new distinct hypervector. This is used for association, like linking a word to its meaning. It's done with element-wise multiplication. And then bundling merges multiple hypervectors into a single summary hypervector. This is used to represent a set of items. So all of the words in a sentence, it's done with element-wise addition. And then you have similarity, which measures how similar two hypervectors are. This is how we make a classification. And then through this binding, bundling, and similarity process of these hypervectors, that's exactly how the model operates, what it does, etc. Let's take, like, say for example, we have a cat, right? The concept of cat, that would be one hypervector. Then we have the concept of dog, that would be another hypervector. We have a concept of mouse, that would be a third, right? If we combine cat and dog, that would be bundling. That would be binding. If we took all those concepts together and then we merged them into like a singular animal hypervector, that would be bundling. And then so the advantages of running this in a browser are significant. Like why you would want to do this in a browser, right? So there's zero setup, no Python, no servers, no complex libraries. It just works. Like you could run this on any website, right? So also privacy first, user data is never sent to a server. There's nothing being stored on the back end. All calculations happen on the user's own device. You're not actually storing any information whatsoever. It's also instant and interactive. Predictions are immediate, allowing for real-time applications and learning. Like this is everything that you would want out of a web browser-based application, right? So part two, the core HDC functions in JavaScript. Let's start by creating the fundamental building blocks of our HDC system. These 4 functions are all we need. And then breaking down the functions, which are essentially just the binding, bundling, and classification functions, right? Then we need to, for this particular model, we're building out our sentiment classifier. And then so with these models, like with HDC models overall, you can, there's, of course, limits, right? It's not going to function like a full LLM model, but like you can do some very cool, some very advanced things with HDC models overall, like, for example, classic sentiment analysis. And then so in this instance, we build out our sentiment analysis model. And then we just run it. Here's all of the code that you need in order to build the sentiment analysis model. And then here's some different things that you can do to add on to it, right? And then so as you can see here, I'm just like at this, what I did is I just saved it into a notepad here. And then this is the code that I have. So you can just straight copy and paste it literally directly from the doc there. And then I just open it here, right? So it's just here I have sentiment and here's the HDC language app. Just go here, here. And then I created this one as well to give you an idea of like another way that this is going to work, right? So this is HDC language recognition. So this demo uses hyperdimensional computing model to classify text into English, Spanish, or German. The model's trained on character trigrams, which are sequences of 3 characters. And so I give it a phrase, hello world. Its prediction is very strongly that it's English. Like secondarily would be German, but it's barely registering that it thinks it could be possibly German. Like it's overwhelmingly that it knows that it's English. And then so there we go. It's classifying that exactly how we want it to be, right? And then same thing with our sentiment analysis and then the hyperdimensional neural network playground. For the HDC network playground, I'll give you all of the code here in this Colab notebook. Save it to a notepad and run it in your browser. It will not run directly in Colab. And then so just highlighting that and pointing that out there. Let me get rid of that. And then so here you go. Here's all the code to run that model within this, right? And then so again, I can't highlight enough how cool this is to me. Like you can run and do like some very complex but very specific AI models directly within a browser. And then so there's lots of different applications for that. Like if you want to do like very quick dashboard analysis, data transformations, classification, and like anything that you would want to do with data, like on the fly, like have the here upload your data, we'll transform it like on the fly, right? That's exactly what this is, and like you can build out complex apps that have no backend. They're just 100% pure JavaScript based, like pure HTML, and you have access to some pretty hefty compute with this architecture and with these models. Like this is super cool overall, right? And I before today, I didn't know that you could do this. So I've never in my life seen a HDC app running directly in JavaScript only. Like it's always Python. And then so here we go. This is super cool overall, right? If you make any sort of cool projects out of this or do anything like that, let me know. I'd like to see what people would create with this, right? To me, it's I'm looking at it as just the most basic applications that you can utilize these for at the moment. But I can't stress enough, you can create, you can turn anything into hypervectors, and then via bundling and binding, you can bind and create worlds out of hypervectors, right? And do you can create neural networks out of hypervectors, anything that you want. You can stack them and do any type of calculations that you would want utilizing these hypervectors overall. there's a lot, like, people that study these things in depth, like, there's a group of people, like at least a small group of people that think that like when it comes to solving like P versus NP, and if that problem is solvable, that like it's likely that it would be within this particular space, like the HDC space overall. So like there's a lot of power that you can do within this, and then just being able to run it in a browser like is crazy overall, right? As to like what you can do, like, and so to me it's I'm limited at like kind of just in this moment in time being kind of like awestruck by this concept overall, but like just the applications are endless. And then so I want to highlight that whatever you could come up with and think of with this, there's going to be some like super duper cool things that come out of this overall. Cool technology. I'll leave a link to all of this so you'll have the tutorial. And then you have like all the code that you need for most of these, except for this big guy here, which I'll leave you the link to the collab there. So then you'll have it all via those two links. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.